hello everyone, and welcome to the Challenge Building webinar for hosts. My name is Mikael Hautala. I'm CEO and one of the founders of DigiEduHack, and today your host at this webinar. So our goal today is to talk about hackathons in general, what they are about and why it's important to spend some time in choosing your hackathon topic and defining the challenge you wish to solve in the hackathon. Today's agenda is as follows. We'll start with an introduction to hackathons, what is it and why it is a good way of working. Then we will move on to an introduction to the challenge building, and I'll explain where you can start your work, how to begin choosing and defining a challenge or a topic for a hackathon, and we'll introduce you to Challenge Building Canvas. That is a tool that will help you think about your topic and then guide you to writing the challenge description on your event pages. Let's jump to the concept of a hackathon, what it is and where does it come from. Hackathons started in the 90s. The first hackathons, or at least what we know of, were organized in 1999 in the USA. And they were aimed to developing software for OpenBSD and Sun microsystems in a limited time, and they were targeted to software developers. The point was to code something quickly. And this is still actually a very common perception of hackathons, that it's about coding where time is short and it's usually perceived as very result oriented. But since 1999, the hackathons have become very popular, and you can even see huge hype around them growing in the early 2000s, at least what we have seen in the Europe and especially in Finland for the past 5 years. Nowadays, the hackathons have become a popular way of working for much more than just coding. They've actually stabilized in the let's say form of gathering, just like a meeting or a workshop, but are usually very focused on getting something done. So today hackathons are typically for fast-paced, challenge-driven co-creation, where the fields and topics vary from service design to software development and creating new business models. They also have multiple potential goals like new service or production creation, process improvement, marketing, employer branding, recruitment, or just by learning or doing. Ideally, what any good hackathon is based on is co-creation, doing together with other participants. It's about bringing people together and learn and do together. By definition, the co-creation is a way of working in which people from different backgrounds or viewpoints come together to create something. This kind of collaboration is based on a mutual goal, a mutual interest to work together, and especially mutual trust. That way, it's possible to discuss the topic openly, map potential solutions, and through ideas in a safe environment. So this is kind of a way of working, and it's most of all about learning, exploring and getting new angles onto the topic or challenge at hand. And in any hackathon or other co-creation project, it's good to start by identifying the goals and reasons of doing this kind of co-creation. Why are we hosting an event? Or why would anyone want to join? It's important that the match to host challenges or your challenges and the participants' opportunities in a way that it creates a nice balance between their interest and a fertile ground for the collaboration. And after this, it's much easier to find the people who should or would like to join and invite them in. The co-creation itself is a learning experience with some unpredictability involved. When people come together, it's hard to tell what will result. And that has caught us quite many times during the past 5 years, when you focus on the challenge and not so much on the solution, and give the participants free hand to come up with new ideas. When the intentions are right and the collaboration is facilitated well, it's usually a great way to start a longer term, potentially a journey together. Well, I've said that this is important, building a good challenge or the topic. And well, it's identifying the goals of the co-creation process or a hackathon that lays the ground again for the further collaboration. And you should probably wonder that is the challenge important to us? Is it interesting to participant, etc. And doing this preparatory work will also help in managing everyone's expectations allocating the right resources, and for being able to take the results into action effectively afterwards. In a hackathon, all of these things are usually framed into a topic of a hackathon, well, the challenge. Why do we talk about challenges? In creative work, like in hackathons, why don't we just start creating something cool or invite people to share any good ideas they may have? Well, if we would probably end up with a bunch of nice thoughts and ideas, maybe even some concepts and suggestions, but most of them would end up going nowhere. They would be just nice ideas that someone could even implement, but after a while they might lose interest in them. The thing is that the best ideas are those that actually solve a problem. That makes them useful, and if they are really useful, someone is willing to fight for them and pay for making them happen. That's why it's important to think about the problems we want to solve first, and only then start coming up with ideas. Personally, I've learned that it's actually not that hard to come up with a bunch of ideas. Just do a brainstorming session and there you go. Then you're gonna have loads and loads of ideas. But for finding the best ideas, those of value that can and will be implemented too, then you start by choosing the problem and only then do the brainstorm. And that's what these hackathons are also about. So your job as a host is to choose a problem, a challenge, and let the participants learn about it and then work on their ideas to solve it. And remember, the challenge doesn't have to be a very specific problem. It's more about setting the right team and figuring out what you want to achieve. For example, if we focus on building a new and better washing machine and keep improving the way it works, which functionalities it has and how it looks like, we may forget that the actual problem or need that the user has. Was it to have a machine to do the washing at home so they don't have to do it manually, or was it to get clean clothing? And in the latter case of for the user, it might be a better solution to take the clothing to a dry cleaner or use fabric refreshing spray instead. So ask the user. That is why in a hackathon, it's better if you as a host just name your goals and wishes and let the participants dig deeper into your problems and possible different ways of solving it. We don't always know the best solutions by ourselves. It could be a washing machine, it could be something totally different. But focus on what you want to achieve, clean clothes, or maybe to look good professionally. This is just like a designing thinking process. Everything starts by understanding the goals and challenges, and then utilizing all of these different design and prototyping tools and methods to create the solutions. This image illustrates Google design sprint methodology, which is pretty similar to the path that hackathons follow. The challenge is named beforehand, and during the process, the participants learn about it more. Let's start brainstorming for ideas, then choose which idea to develop further, and maybe build even a prototype for it. This is also the principle that DigiEduHack follows. But now, in this webinar, the point was to focus on the challenge to build a solid ground for your hackathon. So let's continue on that. So the first step in this picture. To make this all a bit more concrete, we have created 2 example host stories for you. And now we'll get to know those stories. So please meet Laura. Laura works in a Swedish university as a partnerships coordinator for the Faculty of Education. Laura heard about DigiEduHack in 2019 as her friend participated in a hackathon organized in Stockholm. Later, Laura got inspired. She could organize DigiEduHack maybe this year. She has wide networks and connections to city officials, companies, and schools. In addition, the Faculty of Education has an ongoing collaboration program together with the Science and Tech Department. But what should be the theme for her hackathon? For Laura, DigiEduHack general themes are interesting, but after some deeper thinking, the most relevant to Laura is emerging technologies for education. So Laura registers their university as a host and starts to think about finding the perfect topic around the theme. Then she ponders if the co-creation is the key in finding new solutions for her network and what is the actual problem Laura wants to solve. Then as a second person, we have Mark. And Mark is a working as a teacher in Germany and is always trying to find new ways to activate and inspire his students, especially in the tech classes. He has connections to an education-related foundation, and they have had many conversations about possible cooperation projects. Foundation has a reserved budget for the project already, and Mark is particularly interested in how to inspire students with new technology, but either he or the foundations have any connections. So Mark has a problems in finding concrete ways how the cooperation project could be done. Suddenly, Mark hears about DigiEduHack from a colleague, and emerging technology for education theme sounds exactly what Mark has been wondering about, and decides to enroll as a host together with the foundation. So could co-creation help in getting concrete ways to inspire school kids with the latest technology? Or could DigiEduHack be the way to find new partners for the school? And we will get back to Laura and Mark in a moment, but here was a brief introduction for them. Similar to Laura and Mark, you might be, or you might wonder what you should start with, and maybe that's why you're here at this webinar at this moment. So you might have already a theme or even a problem in mind you would like to solve, but we have collected some good starting points for those who are still looking for ones. DigiEduHack has 8 interesting themes related to education, and you can visit the website and read introductions about them and pick your favorite one. The challenge can be also rooted to your strategy, current interest, or development initiatives where you would like to get fresh ideas for. Starting point can also be something you are not familiar with. So do you want to learn more about something or find out different ways of doing something? So as you can see, there's lots of options. So if you feel flustered and are not sure where to start, safe bet is to choose something from the DigiEduHack themes. Then, when you have your theme figured out, it's time to start working with your challenge. We recommend a process that is divided into 2 phases. The first phase is called challenge building. In this phase, you work around your topic, ideate, broaden your thinking, and list potentially relevant topics. Just think outside of the box. And also in this phase, quantity is better than quality. Try to get your ideas flowing and to the paper. For the phase 1, we have created a tool called a challenge building canvas, which we will introduce later in this webinar. In this material, you will recognize slides related to challenge building from this swirl symbol. In phase 2, you will take your work from phase 1 and formulate it into a compelling, compact, and consistent challenge description, which will then act as a marketing material as well. For phase 2, you will use DigiEduHack event pages to create a challenge page for your hackathon. Also in this material, you will recognize the slides related to challenge descriptions from this writing symbol down on the right lower corner. And now let's take a look at the phase 1 a bit more deep. So this phase is all about getting your ideas flowing and creating material for the challenge description. And for this, we've created the canvas to make this part easier for you. So with the help of the challenge building canvas, the aim is to create materials for the challenge description. And the canvas is built in a way that it helps you to meet these characteristics here. A good challenge should try to be impactful, understandable, and relevant. And it should also call for hands-on approach, as well as allow diverse skills and ideas. This is what the challenge building canvas looks like. You can find the actual file under resources from DigiEduHack webpage, and this is a bit more simplified version of the actual canvas, but this is for you to get the idea what the canvas is all about. The recommended working order is to start from the part 4, so on the upper left corner, impact, and then move to clockwise direction. So first, let's take a better look at the part 4, impact. With this box, try to think about what long-term effects are included directly and indirectly by the solutions you wish to see. Or you can name the impact you want to contribute as well. It may also be already described in the goals or initiative you are part of if you choose to go that path. And of course, this can also be taken from the DigiEduHack's goals and themes as well. In all of these boxes, we have a short example, like here in pink, improve chances for further education and income for the children. So that you can, so for example, this pink text could be the impact that you're looking for. So these examples will help to get better understanding on the canvas that what could be the example written on each of these boxes. Then we move to outcome. You can think about the concrete change you want to achieve directly through the solutions created. It can be described as a change or comparison to the initial state you wish to see, or improvement in some area for some specific targeted group. The outcome should be measurable in some way, either in qualitative or quantitative, but it should be measurable. And in this example, we take one step backwards. So what could be one of the prerequisites for improving chances for further education? Such that could ourselves achieve by doing something now. And in this example, it could be that 12 children learning how to read. That is a measurable outcome. Then we move to lower part of the canvas and to output. In this part, think of what you are expecting to achieve or what kinds of results should be created. You can think about possible solutions that could help achieve the goal. Don't design them, but do you know or have some minimum requirements, example like technical limitations that should be considered or taken care of? Or have you found or created some solutions already? Do you know some solution that would not work? You tested those already. In this example, again, take a step backwards and think about what could help the 12 children learn how to read. And 20 hours of teaching and 25 different assignments is one really concrete way how to make that outcome happen. So those could be the outputs of this co-creation process. Note that we don't yet say what kinds of assignments they are or what type of teaching to offer, but merely a list of expectation of the output, roughly said. So this is something that the output could look like. Then lastly, we go to input. In here, think about what resources do you have in hand to share with hackathon participants. On the one hand, there is your input that could help the participants. Those can be resources, expertise, data, and so on. And then on the other hand, there we have the solvers or participants, those their input. So what do you think could be useful from their end, like certain technologies or expertise or some existing components maybe? In our example, in the slides, we have introduced one concrete resource, which would be mapping the available teachers. These teachers then create the output, and if they were the ones participating in the hackathon, or they could help others participants to create it as well. So there's an introduction for the challenge building canvas you can use in the first phase for challenge building. And now let's take a look how Laura and Mark used the challenge building canvas that introduced you. So Laura has always wanted to have a stronger collaboration between those who make science happen and those that take plans to action. And in this scenario, stronger collaboration can be considered as an impact and different parties as a city officials and schools on one hand and university and companies on the other. This is in the upper left corner. Moving on to upper right corner, outcome, the goals for this collaboration would be creating new, more engaging education methods utilizing emerging technology. And this can be considered as an outcome. Continuing to output, Laura would like to see those technologies that are currently thought in their university to be utilized. And lastly, the input, Laura would like to see either students or smaller companies utilizing or studying emerging technologies as participants. University has a lot of scientists, and Laura already has identified some key persons from her network who could mentor participants. Laura also has the newest education strategy of their city. So this was Laura's challenge building canvas. What about Mark? So starting again from the upper left corner, Mark wants to inspire his students with emerging technologies to get them interested in technology and science. Enhancing grades, getting more students to apply to university and work with STEM-related fields could be considered also as an impact. Moving right as an outcome could be a more deeper cooperation between technology companies and schools through creating inspiring solutions utilizing emerging technologies. The solutions should be inspiring students about science and technology, and also they should be engaging for youth and be usable and also affordable. These relate to the output on the lower right corner. Mark and Education Foundation would like to find new companies to partner with. Also, inspiring solutions ideas coming from students are welcome. So Mark has interested colleagues and his own students who could mentor participants. And all of these could or can be considered as an input on the lower left. Here was the two stories how the canvases could look like when filled. So now that we have covered the first phase of the challenge building with the help of the canvas, next we will move on to the second phase of the process, how to write a challenge description to your hackathon. The challenge descriptions or description is the first contact base available to the possible participants of your challenge. So it acts both as an advertisement and information outlet of the challenge. Therefore, it should be informative, inspiring, and also actionable, of course. The description should be both interesting and appealing to target participants from different backgrounds, skill sets, and viewpoints. You should try to find the perfect balance between giving too little and just enough information about your challenge, because giving too precise information will guide the applicants in one direction and might mean that everyone would work on a very similar idea. Also, too vague description, on the other hand, will not give applicants enough information to make the decision whether to take part or not. So a good challenge description is motivating, inspiring, and thought-provoking. Also remember that it acts as an advertisement of the challenge and the hackathon, so a good challenge description also gives enough information about the challenge and the context to apply or join, but it also leaves room for different kinds of interpretations and approaches. A good challenge description uses questions as a way to describe the challenge and its dimension to welcome creative thinking. But remember that it shouldn't be too detailed or too broad, because then it may directly only to one kind of ideas, or then not give enough anything to start with. Remember that you are describing your needs, goals, and wishes, not the ideas or the solution specification. So it's hard for us. We try to jump on the solution immediately, but try to be focus on the needs and the goals and wishes and steer away from the possible solutions and leave that for the participants. Lastly, here's how we recommend you to write your challenge description based on the thought you wrote down in your canvas. First, start with the question in part 2, challenge description. It's easier to skip the part 1 at this point and do the second section first. These questions can be filled based on your answers in the challenge building canvas. Then move to part 1, challenge introduction. Start with summarizing your answers to part 2 in a concise description of your challenge. Then come up with a teaser and the topic should be inspiring and short. This can be also tedious, but very well worth it. Then in part 3, images and videos, you can add any relevant videos or images about your challenge. And then lastly, in the part 4, resources, you can add relevant resources about your challenge, like data sets, documents, or other files. You can also write small descriptions about the resources to let users get an introduction before they download anything. And also remember that these can inspire participants to apply if there are some information that participants couldn't access otherwise. another one, or about which they are eager to learn more. So the resources could be one part for the motivation to get access to. Thank you for your concentration, and Satu will go through the wrap up, and then we will move on to the Q&A part.
So as a summary of this webinar, here we have some key takeaways for you. Try to iterate a bit. Try to think about the possible participants and then take their point of view. Why would they want to join and solve the challenge? Highlight those points in your challenge description. Then try to find the balance. Be informative and inspiring, but also very clear on your expectations. We recommend to utilize the templates to support your work. But try to think about what is really important and interesting to you as a topic. The participants will catch your energy and inspiration, so get excited about your topic as well.
I would also like to add that it's a key question to think about who your participants are. So who are you planning this hackathon for? Is it for your own employees or your students or partner companies, or which is the target group? So that helps you understand their motivation and their interests better. But yeah, I think we are done with the main content of the webinar. So thank you, everyone.